What's going on, y'all? Jordan, another episode of Lightning Latest. I'm really excited for this one. We're gonna start off where we left off yesterday, with the Senators' biggest strength this time versus their biggest weakness. So, Ottawa's roster is ranked as one of the most efficient by the Athletic, and the same poll they did with ours, where they named us the most efficient period, first overall. Ottawa was ranked fifth, so not bad. They're a pretty deep squad, actually. Um, yeah, they do lack like that scoring punch on the third and fourth lines that we do as well, but they still have a very good squad. They do lack that top line forward, but there are still many strong contributors throughout that team. Right, that top, especially the top line, which is very young. Right, Tim Stutzel, he's the center in his 20s, right? Same thing with the wings. We have Brady Yachuk and Fabian Zetterlund. Same same things in their 20s. So the lines behind them as well, they're mostly young. They have a couple of veterans, most notably Claudio Giroux. But it's just going to be really interesting to see how these lines can push the Senators forward. If that top line continues to get better, stronger, faster, which in all honesty they all should, right? Then it's going to be a lot easier for the Senators to make a playoff push this year. There are some things, they are division opponents, right? They didn't finish too far behind us. I think they're pretty close. The Athletic named them or the Rangers as the 8th seed. They were tied. So I think if this first line can take that next step, and a lot of these pretty skilled offensive contributors and defensive shutdown guys they can all coalesce and just take a collective step up, especially those young players this year. It's going to be pretty dangerous. Don't sleep on their defense either. A lot of people have, and we'll probably get into that in the next few weeks as well. We get closer to the season opener. So I'm really interested to continue my breakdown of them as well. But we're going to switch gears and hop back into our deep dives with the defense today. So, as we all know, currently on the roster, right? Hetty, the captain, Ryan McDonough, Eric Chernak, J.J. Moser, Emil Lilleberg, Darren Radish, Max Crozier. We know Hedman's going to lead the top line as captain. That's fine. A lot of projections, though, have J.J. Moser as his partner. Now, that is very intriguing to me, and that's something I would love to see, because you want to see if he can really take that next step forward, and if that restricted free agent contract he's going to be earning, if it's going to be just another bridge deal, going to be a better bridge deal, going to be an actual long-term extension, who knows? It all depends on how well Moser plays this year. Remember, he's 25. And we're going to dive more into him in a little bit. But it's really interesting because if he can notch that top line, we're golden. McDonough and Chernak, the shutdown pair on the second set, it's going to be great because all they're going to do is hunt down opposing offensive threats and just, I love it. Big fan of McDonough's, of course. He's been a leader of this team for a long time. When we got him back from the Predators last year, I was very happy with that. So he brings a nice veteran presence. He will be a free agent next year, though, like Moser and like Darren Radish, we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. So we'll be interested to see just how well they all do this season with free agency, maybe somewhere in their mind. Eric Chernak, of course, we know what he is, right? Dependable, solid, rugged. Perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine with him pairing up with Hedman too on the top line. He can contribute anywhere. Is he overpaid? Yeah, maybe a little much, but sometimes that's what you got to do to keep your players. Emil Lilleberg, this is where we can improve. We can improve on Lilleberg and Radish and Crozier, these players right here, right? We have a good top four on defense. Over the next few days, we're going to talk about some targets that could really help the defense, not only this year, but in the future as well. Right? We want to keep McDonough and Moser if possible. I don't think Radish will be retained, if I'm being honest with you. He hasn't shown too much to really warrant that. And now, if he can improve this year, get better, keep his head down, make some good plays, then maybe, But I just don't think him or and then Littleberg's still under contract for another few years, but I don't. They're just third line worthy. It's not good enough, and we need to target players that will help with that. That'll help improve it. But I do want to talk more about JJ for a second. Now his next deal is going to be interesting. It's I want to know if it's going to be longer than Gonzalez. I think it will be. I think he's going to be better this year and just really come into his own, especially if he plays along Hedman. Still has plenty of room to go, right? We talked about earlier, he's 25. He's not even in his prime yet, guys. He can be a lot better, a lot stronger, a lot faster. It's just going to be there. The question is, will it happen this year? Will it happen next year? How quick will his progression be? Remember, he was this key part of the Sergachev trade, right? The key piece of that return. We traded the guy that many thought would be our long-term number one defenseman once Hedman retired to Utah and got Moser back, who could also possibly be that, right? If he's playing next to Hedman full-time, or most of the time, I think he's going to skyrocket. I think he's going to get so much better because he's going to be playing with one of the best defensemen in NHL history, right? If he retired today, Pitcher Hedman will probably be, almost certainly be a Hall of Famer. Be pretty close. I'm sure he's in, though. So, learning from one of the greats, especially one of the modern greats, should only help him and propel him going forward, right? I think if he continues to work hard, continues to develop, these are the kind of players that Coop loves to develop. I don't see why J.J. Moser won't be back on a long-term deal. I'm just not seeing a reason why he can't get there. Based on the progression from last year, I'm sure we'll be seeing it in camp, right? Hopefully we'll be seeing it in preseason, and then once October 9th hits, we'll see it there. That's what everyone wants to see. This is how the team moves forward and continues that Stanley Cup push to the next 5, 10, 15 years. We have to develop that next wave, and we talked about that yesterday and in the past, right? J.J. Moser can be one of those next wave players. He can be that top-line defenseman we need. Will he get there? I believe he will. Especially if he's playing alongside Hedman and McDonough and Chernak. All of these top-line veterans that have worked hard to be where they're at right now. McDonough is well-respected across the league, including in our locker room. Hedman, we all know that. Chernak got the money he got for a reason. Will Moser join the four of them? I believe he will. I really do. And if he does, there's still room for improvement. There's still room for the Bolts to improve this blue line core because, help is needed, right? We talked about that earlier. So, imagine for a second on today's What If, Thomas Harley, right? He's going to be restricted free agent at 24. Hasn't even come close to his prime yet. He's still a few years away, like Moser, right? So he's going to fetch a high dollar amount. With the cap rising, this is another decision that the Stars are going to have to make, right? We talked about Jason Robertson yesterday. We're talking about Thomas Harley today. The Stars have a lot of strong, young talents. The problem is they're all going to get expensive, and they already have expensive players on the roster. Will they be able to have the cap room to keep them all? I'm not sure. You're definitely going to have to do a deep dive into the cap space of the Stars. I was thinking about doing that some other contenders as well, seeing where they're at cap-wise for just a personal side project. So if I come up with anything crazy, I'll let you guys know. But, he had 50 points in 70 games last year. He was on the Four Nations roster. I believe it was Team USA. He's already been an All-Star. If Moser somehow doesn't take that next step this year, right, and kind of disappoints and maybe doesn't get the bridge deal or even long-term deal that we think he's going to, Thomas Harley would most likely be a more than suitable replacement. He's already shown that he can be a top-line guy. He's already shown that he can contribute. And he's only 24. Granted, he's got to be expensive. It's another expensive piece, along with the rest of these restricted free agents we're going to talk about in the next few days. It's going to be pricey. Will it be worth it? I think it would be. We're talking about rising cap. We all know that Bree Boy and the front office need to, improve this next wave we're talking about, right? With Connor Geeky, with Goncalves, with Moser. If we can add players to go and grow with this next wave, that's great. That's a Thomas Harley, that's a Connor Bedard, that's a Jason Robertson. It's all of these young players that will take the next step, and that's why I think next year's restricted free agent class will be one of the best we've ever seen. Furthermore, I think we're going to see quite a few restricted free agents maybe move teams because of the depth of the class, right? If the Stars lose one of Robertson or Harley, they could pivot and go in another direction and sign another player. That's a young value that can continue to play well. Logan Cooley, we're going to be talking about him the next couple of days, right? We're going to be talking about Derek Wolfe, some other restricted free agents as well. So there's a lot of targets out there. Furthermore, these could also be trade targets. So you have to keep that in mind. So tomorrow we're going to talk even more about these young guns, right? Connor Geeky's going to be on the menu. We're going to talk about the wingers. Pontus Holmberg's deal is going to be up there as well. Another what if. We have a few really cool ones still coming up. And then we're going to be diving into trade targets sooner rather than later in the next couple of days as well. So this is Jordan with Lightning Latest. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.